Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world or whatever time you'll be watching this video. Now, guys, I'm not sure how many of you have heard about this new policy change in regards to the United States and their immigration policy. Now, in a significant shift that could impact thousands of immigrants, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, or better known as the USCIS, has announced a policy clarification that reinforces a long standing rule. Now it says if you're in the United States on a temporary visa and hoping to get a green card, you may now have to leave the country to do it. Now, according to the agency, this isn't a new law, but rather a return to how immigration law was always meant to be applied. The policy memo makes it clear. They state that individuals seeking permanent residency, also known as adjustment of status, should generally complete that process through consular processing. That means applying at a U.S. embassy or consulate outside the United States, typically in their home country. Now, USCIS spokesman Zach Kahler explained the reasoning behind the move. He stated, "We are returning to the original intent of the law to ensure aliens navigate our nation's immigration system properly." Unquote. In simpler terms, the government wants to close what it sees as loopholes that allow temporary visitors to stay in the U.S. and apply for permanent residency without leaving. So, what does this mean in practice? If you entered the U.S. as a student, temporary worker, or a tourist, your stay is meant to be temporary and purpose specific. Under this policy, your visit should not automatically become a pathway to a green card from within the country unless you qualify under what officials call extraordinary circumstances. Now, this could have major consequences. For years, many applicants have adjusted their status without leaving the US, but now immigration officers are being directed to carefully evaluate each case and apply the law more strictly. And if your application is denied, the government argues that requiring applicants to apply from abroad reduces the risk of people remaining in the country illegally. There's also another key reason behind this policy shift: resource management. By pushing more applications through the U.S. Department of State and its overseas consulates, the USCIS says it can focus on higher priority cases, including visas for victims of violent crime, human trafficking survivors, and naturalization applications. In other words, freeing up limited resources to address more urgent immigration needs. Now, supporters of the policy says it restores fairness and order to the immigration system. Critics, however, may argue it creates new barriers and uncertainty for people already living and working in the United States. But one thing is clear: this move signals a stricter interpretation of immigration law and a reminder that temporary status in the U.S. does not guarantee a path to permanent residency. What do you think about this policy shift? Is it a necessary correction, or does it make the immigration process more difficult? Let us know your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for more updates on the stories shaping our world. Now, guys, this is a very touchy subject, and honestly, I am for persons, going about the immigration process the right and correct way. I am not into, you know, getting permanent residency illegally, or not illegally, but, you know, taking getting an unfair advantage. But on the other hand, you kind of understand why some persons do it. But my question is, if you're there on a temporary work permit, say you're there on a 3-year temporary work permit, and you fall in love, and you decide to get married, once you get married, if you're and you apply for your visa, if your temporary permit is still valid, would you still have to leave the country in that case? Because in that case, you're not overstaying your visa, right? And yes, your visa is there for you to work, but then you get married during that time. Do you at this point now still have to leave the country if you still have a valid work visa? Or maybe this will fall into one of those, categories where the immigration officer may use discretion. But let me know what you think, guys, and leave your comment in the comment section. And as usual, thank you for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Catch you on the next one.